Hey friends, so in this exercise we're going to create a sphere and a cylinder out of a cube. I'm going to start by using the cube icon here. I'm going to press R to activate my scale tool and scale from the center yellow box. And just scale this up randomly so I can see it and it fits nicely in my screen. If I click off of this object, you'll notice that I have flat or smooth shading on. But I want to turn on wireframe on shaded so I can easily see the edges of my cube. Now I'm going to select my cube again, go to the mesh menu and smooth and the option box for smooth. What smooth does is divide each face, or subdivide each face into 4 faces. So I'm going to start with 1 subdivision level and exponentially add divisions is default and hit smooth. And you can see instantly that my cube has turned into much closer to a sphere. So now if I press 3 for smooth preview, you can see it really looks like a sphere at this point. So I'm going to move this off and I'm going to show you what it looks like if we subdivide these faces into 1 more level, so 2 subdivision levels. So let's create a cube again. Scale it up. I think I was somewhere around 9, so I can scale that in my channel box. Just incidentally, if I do hit 3 for smooth preview right now, you can see I do get a sphere from this cube, but it's very jagged and not super smooth, so we don't want that. So I'm going to press 1 to go back into hard surface mode, go to mesh, smooth, the option box, set 2 subdivision levels and hit smooth. And here you can see every one of my faces has now been subdivided into 4 faces. So we have 4 times as many faces. All right, so now let's just compare this really quickly to what the default sphere looks like. Now if I scaled this up by a factor of 9, you can see it is absolutely huge. So I'm not going to do that. But you can see instantly the difference. So there are poles, north and south poles at the top of this sphere that are full of triangles. These triangles will subdivide differently if I decided to smooth or add divisions. Quad faces are easier to subdivide and can work better in animation. However, both quads and triangles are completely acceptable to work with in most 3D software. You want to avoid the dreaded ngon, which is a face with more than 4 sides, where n stands for the number of sides. Okay, so now we're going to make cylinders from a cube. So it's a very similar process. We're just going to scale this up, make a cube, scale it up, go to mesh, smooth, and the option box. Notice that the option box saves the last choice that you made. So I need to change this down to 1 subdivision level, hit smooth. And then what I'm going to do is select by vertice. So if you go into your modeling toolkit, you can see this option for selecting by vertice. You have to have your object selected and then click on by vertice. The other way to select by vertice would be to hover over your object, hold down your mouse button's right click, and activate the marking menu. This little marking menu, as long as you hold down your right click, you can click and drag over the option that you'd like to select. So I'm going to select by vertice. Now I want to grab these top vertices and I'm going to scale them in 1 direction so they're nice and flat. So to do that, I'm going to use my scale tool, which the shortcut is R. And then instead of using the center box, which scales in all directions, I'm going to scale these down in 1 direction. And that gives me the nice flat top for my cylinder. Going to do the exact same thing with the bottom vertices. And actually I'm going to hide my grid just because it's starting to get in the way. And make sure that you have just the vertices on the bottom rows selected. And then click and drag. And then finally, to make these vertices in the center, more even, I can use either the all direction scale, or I could actually use the 2-direction scale, this little box right here. Either way, I'm going to get it close so it looks like a cylinder. Now let's compare this cylinder that we just made to a Maya cylinder. So I'm going to just move it out of the way, scale it up. Now my cylinder had a few settings already planned in it, so I'm just going to delete that and go to the Create menu, Polygon Primitive, Cylinder, and the Option box. So usually I think your axis divisions by default are 16. Your height divisions are probably 1, and your cap divisions are 1. If you ever want to get back to your default settings here, you can go to Edit and Reset Settings. So you can see actual axis divisions by default are 20. You can also select round cap here. So I'm just going to hit Create. It was made inside the previous cylinder, so I'm just going to move it over, scale it up. So now you can see this cylinder, which is made out of quad faces. If I press 3 to smooth it, it smooths quite nicely. It's a nice little kind of ball. If I smooth this one, you can see that it has kind of indentations or divots because the top has triangle faces. So all of these triangle faces. One more thing with these cylinders by default, you really want to make sure that you are using cap divisions when you're creating the object. So let's just do that really quickly. Create, polygon, option box, and for cap divisions, I'm going to select 2. And what that does is create an edge loop around the top of the cylinder. And this makes it easier if I want to do something like add a multi-cut and add more rings to the top. So if I hold down Control, click, I can add more cuts. On this original cylinder, if I tried to multi-cut it, it's not going to let me just create a nice new edge loop. One more thing, if you want to make your cylinder look a little bit more like a cylinder, let's add some holding edges. And what the holding edges are going to do is flatten out this top so it has more of a cylindrical top to it. So go back to your modeling toolkit, grab your multi-cut tool, and then you're going to hold down Control, and that will add an entire edge loop. You're going to hover your mouse over one of these like vertical edges and bring it close to the top and click, press Control again, move it down low, press click, and then here you have much more of a cylinder shape rather than a ball. All right, so that's it for this video. If you want to take a screenshot of their models, just position them and then press Command-Shift-4 and click and drag, or use the Windows snipping tool. All right, thanks a lot.